something has changed with the security detail of the deputy president. We have had at least 2 sensational incidences that have happened very close to each other, which clearly demonstrates that those who protect the deputy president have tightened things and they're not leaving anything to chance. Now. Of course, this tells us a lot. Indeed, this should be a matter of great concern, to every patriotic Kenyan who loves their country. And it doesn't matter whether you support the deputy president or not. In this show, we look at the implications of this change in the security detail of the deputy president and what it may mean. I even tackle possible reasons. Very fascinating stuff. Karibu sana and enjoy. In this life, small changes in behavior can tell you a lot. Indeed, in every facet of this life, it pays to pay attention to the small details. Your husband very suddenly out of the blue starts dressing like a teenager. Or your dear wife starts to use the cologne she only uses on weekends when you're going out somewhere. Daily, every day as she goes to the office. Small telltale signs that there's something very major that has changed in their lives. Well, in politics, small details are terribly important. A sudden change of behavior in the security detail of a president or a deputy president should make anybody sit up and pay close attention. For the last 2 weeks or so, the security detail of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, has not been the same. There has been a very subtle change in the way they approach their job of keeping the Deputy President safe. And this has come out very clearly in several incidences, some of which have not come into the public domain, and some that have been published, talked about on social media and other outlets. Late last week, Junet Mohammed posted a video on Twitter of a mama mboga, a humble Kenyan, flying through the air after being pushed as she tried to get close to the deputy president, maybe to present a petition or an appeal for cash. Now, the perception amongst Kenyans is that the deputy president is very generous. And so people have been coming up with all kinds of schemes to draw the attention of the deputy president, interrupting his address at a church service, chanting UDA slogans close to the deputy president, with a certain swag to attract his attention, raising up pineapples and all kinds of things, close to the deputy president, attempting to block him, as he walks along somewhere, in a crowd. There are so many incidences. And in the past, the security detail of the Deputy President have dealt very gently with these Kenyans. That has now changed. And that is very telling. Perhaps the most dramatic incident that has brought out this very clearly was on Sunday, 14th November, just the day before yesterday. And it all happened in Muranga, Mount Kenya region, Central Province, where NTV journalist Mwangi Mwiruri was arrested by the security detail of the Deputy President. He had a camera. He was trying to take photographs. He had a badge identifying himself as a journalist. But that did not stop him from being roughed up and arrested, and taken to a police station. And it was serious, because he was about to be charged. That is, he was about to be locked up and the process of a charge sheet put into motion, so that is later arraigned in court. And the police were communicating on phone with somebody, as they were about to charge him. And that other somebody has been identified as a close aide, personal assistant to the Deputy President, a man called Farouk Kibet. Now, I'll come back to that name a little later on our show. Make sure you stay with me, because that name, Cartels in Kenya, are so powerful. It is impossible for the government of Kenya to bring them down. And that is why the latest moves by the DEA in the United States is causing quite a lot of jitters back home here in Kenya. They were not, under any circumstances, going to lose their grip, their grip on power. But there's something else the cartels had started doing way back in 2007. They started fielding candidates in very prominent, powerful political positions so that their influence would remain guaranteed. And we're going to name those individuals shortly. Anyway, in the end, Bwana Kibet, instructed the police to release the journalist. The journalist says his only crime was that as he was trying to get a good angle to take a photograph, he accidentally stepped on the foot of a member of the Deputy President's security detail. That's all he did, according to him, which the Deputy President's security detail interpreted as interfering, blocking the security detail from doing their work, which of course is an offense, which I must quickly add is something very difficult to prove in a court of law. If it is proved that the person in question was a journalist working for one of the major media houses in the country, NTV. Now, allow me for a minute to go back in history, so that you understand why the sudden change in behavior of a security detail is a very important clue, that suggests something bigger, in the background, which we're not being told. Towards the tail end of the Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi presidency, there were changes in his security detail and his security arrangements. He traveled with more decoy vehicles, so that if you are a Kenyan waiting on the roadside to wave to the president, it became very difficult to know in which particular vehicle he was traveling in. President Moi stopped making frequent stops to address the people. And there were very many other elaborate security arrangements that were put in place. Let me just give you one. I used to work for this computer company that used to supply computers to schools when computers were still very new in the country. And by a stroke of fate, we had to attend a presidential function somewhere in Muranga. And as we were traveling to the function, I noticed a vehicle on the side of the road that appeared to have broken down, and there were people surrounding it. None of those I was traveling with noticed anything amiss, but because of my background, I was able to recognize immediately that these men were actually police officers. They looked carefully at our vehicle as we slowed down and then drove on. And I looked back when we had already gone quite a distance, and I noticed one of them appearing to speak somewhere into his coat. He appeared to be communicating with somebody else, with those gadgets that policemen have always carried with them for communications. I think they're called radio calls or something like that. Anyway, at the time, I concluded that because the president had become very unpopular in the country, that was why his security had been beefed up. Well, many years later, I learned that it was a bit more complicated than that. You see, Moi had become very unpopular with some very powerful people outside the country. There were some things important to those people that the president had refused to implement. Let me simplify it even further. President Moi was in a situation very similar to that of the late president of Tanzania, President John Pombe Magufuli, in late 2020. President Moi was in a very similar position. Anyway, one day I'll tell that story. That story is for another day. Back to the deputy president. What has changed? What has happened? Because usually security of a VIP is beefed up based on information they have received. And now, you cannot come as close to the deputy president as you could before. That's clearly the message. Now, in my opinion, this is something that should be of great concern to Kenyans, even if you don't support the deputy president. I must emphasize that because the thinking of Kenyans these days, I was not brought up like that. I have no idea where this thinking is coming from. Where many Kenyans believe if you don't support a certain politician, you don't care what happens to that politician. If that is your thinking, then you're not a patriotic Kenyan. You're not a decent human being. Period. And I have to tell you that in the face. Now, we know we are heading towards a presidential election. We know that although the deputy president is popular in certain parts of the country, We also know that he has got many enemies. But we also know that his main political opponents are not the kind of people who the deputy president would feel that he needs to beef up his security. No, they're not that kind of people. However, there have been whispers. Some of these rumors, unverified and proven to date, is that the deputy president's dealings with some of his associates and people close to him in neighboring countries have gone sour in recent months. And some of these characters that the deputy president has been dealing with are known to be very ruthless politicians. They treat their people in their country in a very inhuman way. They have a long history of that. Human rights abuses are like their middle name. Could these be the people causing those major changes in the deputy president's security? Difficult to tell at this juncture with so little information. But whatever it is that seems to have caused this nervousness amongst the security of the second in command in the country, we hope and pray that all ends well, that our deputy president remains safe, so that we conclude the upcoming political battle. And Kenyans are left to make a choice as to who they want to be their next president, without anything bad happening in the interim. Now, about this man Farouk Kibet, I have a video on this channel, giving you some mind-boggling details about this man. And what I've done is that I put a link on the top right-hand corner of your screens, which you should be able to see now. Click on it and watch that video. It is very interesting. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.